there's some theory here, right? Without government regulation, what do we lose control? Does the world go freaking nuts? Or does the too much regulation create more of an issue, right? And so where's the happy medium? Like, where do we go? Okay, government, we need you for this, but then let us handle everything else.
Welcome to the David Adam Kurz Show.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the David Adam Kurz Show. I'm very excited that you guys are here. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get folks to subscribe so that you guys know when our new material comes out. And our new material can come in different forms. It's our podcast. It could be an event that I spoke on stage at. It could be my weekly trainings. There's so many different things that we like to post and continuously bring value to everyone out there via our YouTube. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Believe it or not, most of the people that listen to us on YouTube are actually not subscribed. So we need you guys to subscribe. Hit that button there. If you're listening to this on a traditional podcast platform like Apple or Spotify or Google Play, go ahead and hit subscribe there as well, too. That way I'm top of mind when you're opening up your app to check out what to listen to. We're going to be bringing this podcast probably on a weekly basis. Really excited to do this on a normal basis. We do have another podcast, the Freedom Achiever podcast. That one I do with other people and with hosts and guests and things like that. This one has been more of a solo act. So I think we're on episode 3 or 4 right now. I'm not even really sure, but very, very pumped. We went from episode 200 and something to restarting this brand new podcast and just taking off with it and doing what we can to bring mass value to everybody. And honestly, it's an opportunity for me to speak my mind and for you to hear what I have to say. And if we connect, fantastic. If we don't, that's okay too. That's what humanity is designed to be like. We're not supposed to get along with every single person out there. And we're not supposed to all agree on the same views. I'm a big believer in that. We're just not supposed to agree on the same views, right? And I think that's one of the biggest issues that our country is having right now, that people have very strong views on things and they try to impede those views on everyone else. And I think it should be the completely opposite. Have your strong views, be excited about it, talk about it as much as you want, but don't push me to follow your views. Let me have the opportunity to have my own morals, my own design, right? And if you can respect me and my views, and I can respect you and your views, and world's just going to be a happier place. It's going to be a more exciting place to be. But I want to get into something with you guys, some national epidemic, especially here in South Florida. I live in South Florida. Most of you know that. I'm in the Miami area. And affordable housing has, become the topic of the decade. So I'm watching the Miami-Dade commissioners meet and talk about affordable housing and things that they're trying to do to create more affordable housing. And I'm watching them talk about the inability to raise taxes on people, but still having to do so, the inability to want, or not the inability, but the desire to not raise taxes, the desire to not charge more fees for trash pickup, things like that. And then voting yes to charge more people, because what's the other option? Where are they going to get the money from, right? And yes, they might have a reserve of some funds, but God forbid that Miami-Dade County has an emergency. Then people will be like, well, how are we going to pay for this, right? And so there's a lot to think about when it comes to all these things, but there's a law in Florida, the Live It Up law, I think it's called, in Dade County at least, that gives developers, this opportunity to build some affordable housing. And on the news came out the other day that the historic Clevelander on Ocean Drive. Now, guys, if you've never been to Ocean Drive in South Beach, right? Ocean Drive is like the restaurants, the parties, the bars, the exciting part of South Beach. It's what people think of when they think South Beach. It's the old cars. It's the movie set of Scarface. It's like there's so much different stuff on South Beach that it's a lot of exciting. And low-income housing isn't one of them, or affordable housing isn't one of the things that people think about when it comes to Miami Beach, even though there is some there. And so now the Clevelander announces, the owners of the Clevelander, they announced that they're thinking about removing the historic Clevelander and Hotel and building a 30-story building on Ocean Drive in which 40% of the units will be affordable housing. Really interesting stuff. If you think about this, affordable housing across the street from South Beach, like across the street from the sand, from the water, And so I think the mayor hates it, but it is completely the right of the developers to do it with the laws that are in place. They've already submitted their paperwork to get permits. I don't know if this is going to go through or not. It'd be really interesting to see if it does. Although I think that's probably, the craziest place to put a 30-story building right now, which, by the way, Miami Beach is still flooding and sinking as we speak. Like, it rains a lot and it goes to hell over there. So, it'd be really interesting to see how they can sustain it, how they can make it happen, how they're going to add another 30-story building to the grounds there. Be really interesting. And so I posted on social media the other day, and I love bringing up topics like this on social media because I like to believe that there's a lot of smart people out there, and a lot of smart people have really great opinions. And although they might not all make sense, it's people's opinions, and I can respect them, right? And so I put out there on social media, I said, affordable housing, it's a hot topic in major cities, especially Miami. So for all the professionals out there thinking about this, what do you think needs to happen? I wanted to hear the voice of people. I wanted to hear what was happening. And listen, I'm telling you right now, I was born and raised below the poverty level. I grew up in the Bronx in New York City. I grew up with my mother and my stepfather. My mother and my stepfather divorced. We moved to South Florida, and we were still below the poverty level. Mind you, that my mom is a school teacher, and we're behind poverty. We're below the poverty level. I remember standing online for welfare cheese. I remember having WIC checks. I remember doing all that stuff. As a matter of fact, I remember doing that as an adult when I joined the United States Marine Corps. And my first year in the Marine Corps, I had a new daughter, or second year, a year and a half in, I had a new daughter. And I didn't have a lot of money. I don't know if you guys know this, but brand new military Marines don't get paid a whole lot of money, right? So it was me, my ex-wife, my wife at the time, and this new baby in using on the base, and not being able to afford furniture, pots, pans, food, anything. And we were on WIC and welfare while being active duty military. So, when I tell you that this shit hit home, it hits home, right? And so I'm an advocate for affordable housing, but I also have my limitations, right? So I'm not real big to come out here and say, and listen, some of you are going to hate me for saying this, and it is what it is. Like I said, if you can respect my position, I'll respect yours. But when I say affordable housing, I'm not trying to say that we need to go out there and build projects, and because we've already been down that road, we've already seen that happen, and we learned what happens when you build projects. What I'm saying is we need to find a way to A, create more jobs, B, give more people the opportunity for education so that they can step up to the plate, make a little more money, C, create lower cost housing. And I hate to call it affordable housing. I want to say lower cost housing, because what we're saying is, hey, this $500,000 house in this normal ass neighborhood in South Florida is just too much money. We need options at 200. We need options at 175. We need those options for these folks who make $30,000, $40,000 a year. The normal earners of the world cannot live in South Florida anymore. And so it's really interesting to see some of the comments that I got from this. And I'll say something else. We live in this really interesting world right now because, look, post-World War II, prior to World War II, families really lived together. It was like a generational thing, or they lived very close to each other. They had family communities, right? Like people in the Bronx, they took up a whole floor, right? Or two families, two generations of a family lived together in the same house, same place. And then World War II happened, and the VA loan was created after World War II, and veterans came back and started to say, well, I'm going to get out of here, suburbia world, living with everybody else, and I'm going to go move to the city, and I'm going to find my own place, 0% down, all that good stuff. And it was actually the veterans that began the separation of family unit and filling the cities and building cities up, right? Like in that sense. And so in the whole concept of family togetherness and all that stuff and not being able to afford things, so you live in generational units in the house, that went away. And so the family unit kind of got destroyed, because of the VA loan and the veterans, which, by the way, I'm not dogging the VA loan. I think the VA loan is the best absolute loan out there. Let me just be clear. I'm just saying this is what happened, right? And now the tables have turned. This shit's getting cyclical, right? Everything comes back to haunt us, right? And now here we are again in a position where families have to live together, multiple generations. Now, some of you, as I'm speaking to you right now, my mother-in-law, and 3 of my daughters live in my house with me and my wife and I. It's a 7-person household. Which, by the way, my mom is a retired teacher, 40 plus years in the business. On SSI in her retirement, she can't afford to live in South Florida. So I would rather her live with me than have to move away from South Florida. How crazy is that? And so when I think of affordable housing, I think of different types of people. I think of up and coming, people. I think of, young people who just starting in a business and starting in a job or whatever the case is. I think of legal immigrants that come into the country and do things at the right way to get work and do all that other stuff. And for them to be able to find affordability, I think of our seniors. I think it's a big, like, oh, come on, guys, we got to take care of our seniors. They set the path for us. Right? Like everything that has happened prior to us is due to them. The generation before us has paved the road for where we live today. And here we are screwing them over. They can't even move and live peacefully somewhere else. Right? Or they got to leave. They got to go somewhere else, somewhere where everything's cheap, which, by the way, the only way you can do that is as a retired, because I've had people tell me, man, Dave, I'm going to move somewhere cheaper. And I go, great. But you know that the income there is going to be commensurate, right? If you're in sales, especially real estate sales, and you move somewhere where the housing is cheaper, your commission checks are going to be lower too. So it's commensurate. If you're living paycheck to paycheck now, you're going to live paycheck to paycheck there. It's just going to feel better because your mortgage is not going to be $6,000. It's going to be $2,500. But your commission checks are not going to be $15,000. They're going to be $1,500, $2,500, $3,500. Lucky if you make $10,000 on a deal, right? And so, these are all this crazy things. So here's the comments that I got, right? Stop building high-end condos, right? Like, problem is South Florida, and the developers have already come in and created a disaster. Right? Developers have come in, they bought up this land, they want to build high-end condos. By the way, the high-end condos are still getting sold. It's still sought after. There are people coming here from all over the country, all over the world to live the luxurious life of South Florida. And that's what South Florida has become. We have actually priced our own native Miami people out of living here because we've opened the doors to everybody else, which I guess was a normal path for South Florida. Because South Florida used to be a destination location. Now it's not so much anymore. It used to be a tourist spot, right? The locals lived here, and then the tourists used to come in and they used to dirty the city and party up and do everything that you do in Miami, and then they used to go back home. Now that's not the case anymore. Now South Florida is a destination, want to live forever location, right? And so you've got New Yorkers flooding down here. You got people from Connecticut down here. You got people from South America down here, Central America down here. It's become a melting pot and a hub spot for everyone in the world to come in and set roots. It's better on taxes. We have homestead on our homes. Like it's so many reasons why somebody from New York with all the taxes that they pay wants to come down here and live down here. So many reasons. And so when you could work remotely now in a world where you can actually keep your job, work remotely, well, now here we are working remotely for a company in New York City, living in South Florida. So you're earning New York City money, working remotely, and coming to South Florida. Well, guess what that does? That opens the door for all the high-end condos to be bought up and purchased. And then all of our servicers, all the people that take care of everybody, well, they can't even live here anymore. So as much as I would love to see more development happen where we can scale and create more opportunities for medium and low income housing, I don't know where we put it. And that's the scary part. That's the really scary part, right? Another comment was bad politicians, bureaucracy. We need more flexibility, lower fees for buildings developers. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I'm not in government. Maybe one day I will be. It's hard to see it from the back end like that, right? It's hard to see what's happening in the world with this, the design, but let's see what happens. I don't know. Okay. Next thing is all the high-rise corruption. Man, I don't know. All right, let's go. Don't get me started. Let's talk about the Florida Keys. Yeah, the Florida Keys facing the same situation. They're having the same problem. They don't even know what to do, right? Then we got there needs to be a ratio breakdown between all upcoming project development. Look, this is something that I absolutely agree on. Hey, by the way, if you want to build, hey, Mr. Mrs. Developer, you want to build this incredible tower, and in Miami, and you want to charge all these really high prices for it, well, this is what we need you to do. We need you to also build in a different location or in the same building a percentage of affordable housing. Now, I know that flexibility exists now, but it is not a rule of thumb. And so how do we scale developers? How do we look at developers and say, hey, guys, listen, it has to happen. We got to take care of our community. Our services have to live somewhere. The people serving the community have to live somewhere. Police officers are having a hard time living here. Teachers are having a hard time living here. Like, there's so much stuff that we need to really think about outside of our stupid box sometimes, right? And then, I actually wrote, seeing this firsthand, and I told you a little bit about that story. San Francisco has an inclusionary affordable housing program. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. Seems pretty dope. Seems that they have implemented the plan that I was just discussing right now, right? And then the next thing is somebody wrote, nothing will happen. Prices will continue to rise, and teachers and other lower end on the salary scale will be priced out of the market. Same goes for low salary workers. Michael's right. I don't know if nothing will happen. I think something will happen. Something's going to come from this. However, he is right. The teachers, the cops, everybody's getting priced out, right? More government regulation leads to higher prices. You're right. Now there's some theory here, right? Without government regulation, what do we lose control? Does the world go freaking nuts? Or does the too much regulation create more of an issue, right? And so where's the happy medium? Like, where do we go? Okay, government, we need you for this, but then let us handle everything else, right? Workforce living opportunities would be incredible. I know we started to do that in parts of here in Miami, where we were building storefronts or warehouses that had housing on the top. So somebody could actually buy their house and their office and things like that, right? And then the other concept for workforce living, not only is the work, home, play a good option, because now you don't have to go do that and rent an office. You can own your home and work out of your space in the same place, even have a storefront in some of these locations. But then the actual workforce, the folks that are earning, $900 to $40K, right? Like something like that. You know what I mean? Like, what does the average $40,000 a year earner make? I remember somebody coming up to me and saying, Dave, I want you to coach me. I'm a realtor, but I only want to make $60,000 a year. And I remember thinking in my head, how in the world do you expect to live in South Florida on $60,000 a year? Now, she did have a good plan. Her townhouse was paid off. Her cars were paid off. Everything was squared away. All she had to do was cover taxes, insurance, and her kids' activities. And she was good to go. And food, water, light bill. So that's what she needed. And she was able to rock it out, Problem is, even if less high-end buildings are developed, the demand is so high that even those rents will be unattainable for people they were designed for. So that's a good point, right? Like, so we build affordable housing, and then the rents become super expensive because of the need for them. Something to think about, right? investors come in and pick these things up. Pad Split's another solution that came out. Pad Split is a company where they took properties and then they split them up and started renting per room, which is a good option for a young entrepreneur that's single or maybe a couple or something like that. But for a family, very difficult, right? Like for a family to share a house with two other families, like how does that even work out? And it's not going to work out very well. And I don't think that's the answer. I think it's a Band-Aid on a part of the solution, but it's definitely not the answer. You know, somebody else wrote the challenge has gotten so out of control that it is severe to be insurmountable in the short term in most markets. The real risk is the federal government riding into the rescue with some sort of crammed down solution that breaks real estate market dynamics in conjunction with private property breaches. Whoa, right? Like, guys, so right. And we talk about this. There are so many families that cannot even afford to rent here. Several families living in one home, not able to make it. We've talked about that, just the mounting of properties and people. South Florida is pretty much done. Developers have already scooped up most of the property in low-income areas to do teardowns and rebuilds. You're right. We've seen it. It's happened right under our noses. They've picked up houses that have been there for a long time that could probably sell in a normal market for $300,000, $250,000. But because of the demand to flip them into high-end properties, the land is going for $1 million. They're building for $1 million. They're selling it for $3 million. It's insanity, right? And they're just completely gentrifying and changing neighborhoods. Builders are already building smaller homes, but I don't think that's going to solve the problem by itself. Affordable housing will need HUD tags like mobile homes and such. That's an idea. It's sad to see so many people struggling in affordable housing. There's no easy solution to this, but conversations like this can lead to change. That is true. Conversations like this can lead to change, but we need to lobby for change. We need to lobby to our government officials, and we need to lobby for change. We need to go and not take no for an answer. If we want to see affordable housing happen for the elderly, for the young entrepreneurs, for the young workers, the workforce, your bartender, your server at a restaurant, the bellhop. If we want to see housing available for those folks so they can stay close by, so that, you know, those of you that are blessed enough to pull up with your beautiful car to the beautiful restaurant and park valet and go inside and enjoy a great meal and spend $700-800 on one night for a meal. Be thankful for the valet person that took your car and parked it safely. Be thankful for the person that sat at your seat. Be thankful for the cook that made your food. Be thankful for the person that served you your food. Be thankful for the bus boy that picked up the plates and dishes and kept your water full. Be thankful for all the effort of all the people that have actually created the opportunity for you to have a hell of a night out, and do something for them. Help them find a place to live where they don't have to travel an hour and a half to come serve you your dinner. Now, there's another opportunity here somebody wrote that I really liked, and it was transit. I love mass transit. I think mass transit is an answer to some of the problems, because we can go a little bit further out and away from Miami, and we could create affordable housing in other areas that have been untapped. But we need transit. We need a transit system in South Florida that allows those folks to get on the bus, get on the train, you know, do whatever it is that they need to do to get to work. And we don't have a very good transit system in South Florida. You know, in New York City, you know, I grew up there. So in New York City, you just hop on the train, you go everywhere. And that's just normal life. Like that's, you know, that's normal. And I've heard people in South Florida say it all the time. No one's going to get on the train and ride the train. Everybody likes to be in their car and their AC. And you're right. Everybody does. But if, as the options begin to decrease, what other choice do they have? And then honestly, you're one generation away from people just being used to jumping on the train. It is what it is. Guess what? It is hot outside in Florida. Guess what? In New York, half the year is freaking hot and humid, and the sun is beaming off the buildings and smacking you in the head. And the other half of the year is freezing freaking cold, and you're walking through slush and snow to get to the train station. So if they can do it, we can do it. And so in conclusion, I'll leave you guys with this, man. This is not a problem that's going to be solved easily. There is no easy answer for creating affordable housing in America. There is no easy answer. But if enough people lobby and enough people care, some of the answers can come to light, and those things can be implemented. Rules that created for high-end developers in which they have to create affordable housing as well. Rules for affordable housing developers to create neighborhoods that are suitable for affordable housing. Yes, they can be smaller houses. We get it. They can be, but create a community, put some trees down, do the things the right way, so that we're not developing projects again. New York did the projects. Chicago did the projects. Get freaking work. All it did was create a hub spot for drugs and alcoholism and depression and everything else that you could ever imagine. It was crime through galore, crime through the roof. I remember that shit growing up in New York. I remember. That's not the answer, right? The answer is to build for the workforce. Believe in the workforce, the people that take care of us on a daily basis, believe in them and build for them. Our elderly, the folks that have paved the path for us, believe in them and take care of them. All right, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. I appreciate you guys listening to my podcast. Again, subscribe. If you agree, disagree, I love you the same. Put it in the chat, man, and hit me up, whatever you feel like doing. I would love to open up my mind. Maybe you got something that I just don't understand, and you're like, Dave, no, you don't understand this, and that. I would love to hear it, man. I want to learn more. I want to be an advocate for change. I want to be an advocate for education and learning. And I believe that through education and through pushing our government officials to do the right thing, we can create significant balance in the affordability of housing. But it only works through us. We tend to forget that we, the people, run this country. We, the people, run this country. And you do have a voice. All right, folks. Take care and hope to see you soon. Listen, hit my link, everythingdavidkurz.com, everythingdavidkurz.com. Hit that link. You see where I'm going, where I'm going to be. You can sign up for my Freedom Achiever Academy. I urge you to sign up for the Freedom Achiever Academy. I think it's the most fantastic way to learn entrepreneurship, business, settlement, foundation work, mindset, you name it, it's in there. And I want to be an advocate for your growth. All right, guys, our mission is to touch the lives of 1 million people. We want to affect 1 million lives positively in their lives and businesses. Please give us the opportunity to do what we can to be a part of your life. Y'all take care and have a great day.